Let's talk about how much you can make as a massage therapist. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how much I've made over the years, give you an idea of how much I get paid. So we're going to go all into those details, but if you're new here, my name's Ayana. I'm a licensed massage therapist, esthetician, and spa owner, and I make videos all about spa business strategy. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. This is how I want to structure this video. I want to first talk about the job outlook and statistics when it comes to the national averages here in the United States about how much you can expect to get paid for your massage services. Next, I want to talk about a little bit more about the different areas that you can work in when it comes to massage. And then I'm going to be talking about how much I've gotten paid, right out of school when I first started working versus how it's different now that I'm a spa owner and essentially how I pay myself and how I structure it. We're gonna get all up in my business, but also this should be helpful for you so you can know how much you can expect to get paid and really see that the sky is the limit, all right? So let's dive right into it. So this first part is really about statistics. So I am gonna be looking down at my notes here. According to the US Bureau of Labor of Statistics and Occupational Employment and Wage Statistics, the median annual wage for massage therapists was $49,860 in May of 2022. The median wage is the wage at which half of the workers in the occupation earn more than that amount and half earn less. So the lowest 10% earned less than $29,000 and the highest 10% earned more than $90,530. And this is a statistic from May of 2022. Also, May of 2022, the median annual wages for massage therapists in the top industries worked as follows. First, we have chiropractic offices. For chiropractic offices, they earned about $61,000, and I'm rounding, of course, in offices of other healthcare practitioners. So this could be doctors, this could be any other healthcare practice. They earned about $51,000. Personal care services, so that's usually your spas or your day spas. They earned about $59,000. And accommodations, I'm not quite sure what that means, to be quite honest with you, but under the accommodation line, it says that they earned about $33,680 for the year. Another thing I want to note is that part-time work is very common for massage therapists. This type of field is very strenuous and can be very physically demanding, so it's perfectly normal if a massage therapist is working 25 hours or less every single week. So part-time work is really considered full-time for us, and massage therapists are again working less than 25 hours a week, so that's something to keep in mind with this video. Another thing to note is that our work days are a lot shorter, so most massage therapists are not going to be working an 8-hour workday. They're probably working 6 hours or less or 5 hours or less. I know when I first started, I started off with 4 hours. I think the most I've really done in a day is like 6 hours, but even that is pushing it. Now, when it comes to the total average amount of massage therapists in the United States based on the 2022 study, $50,000 is the annual salary for massage therapists in the United States. Now I'm going to pivot more towards my own personal experience with this. First, let me cover the different ways that massage therapists get paid. So if you're a massage therapist and you are a 1099 contractor, more than likely you are getting a commission on the services rendered. So this could be a 20% commission, a 50% commission, 60% commission, plus you're earning tips on top of that. So all the averages that I just stated, I'm assuming is before any tips are given. Another thing to note is if you are working in let's say a larger business and you are an employee, more than likely your pay, and again, it's going to vary depending on the business, it's going to be a little bit lower because oftentimes with those businesses, they're still paying for your health insurance, marketing, so many different other benefits and perks when you're working with a larger company or a franchise company. So pay could be, it's usually an hourly rate. If you're not booked for, that day, usually they'll give you minimum wage if you don't have any appointments. And in some cases, they don't pay you at all if you don't have any appointments. But even even in that spa environment, you are getting tips on top of the service. So now that we've talked about the statistics around how much you can expect to earn as a massage therapist and also the different ways that you get paid, now I'm going to pivot over into my own experience. So when I first graduated from massage school in 2017, I worked at a variety of different places. One of the places that I worked was a Massage Envy. So I worked at a franchise Massage Envy. And even before I went to massage school, I did work at a Massage Envy, but I was doing more like front desk, like behind the counter type stuff. And that was a whole different thing. But then when I got my license, I started working as a massage therapist with Massage Envy. So when they hired me at around $15 an hour at that time. And in addition to that, I would get tips. If I had no one on my schedule, then I would get $8 an hour for those gaps in my schedule. So I did dig around and went and found my W-2. And my first year at Massage Envy, I earned about $25,000. But keep in mind, when I started, it wasn't at the beginning of the year. So that wasn't a full year. It was just for that first year that I worked there, which I believe was about 6 months. So that's how much I earned in 6 months. And also another thing to know is when I first started with them, it's not like my schedule was fully booked. I had to build my clientele over time. And so that would explain that. So that is just an example to just give you an idea. I was also working about 28 hours a week, sometimes less, but 28 hours a week, 6 to 7 hours a day. So I've also worked at chiropractic offices. When I worked at a chiropractic office at that time, and again, wages change over time as time goes on and inflation and all that stuff. But when I worked at a chiropractic office, I was doing something different. So I was actually paid hourly, kind of like an employee. But one thing to note is with chiropractic offices, it's very normal to not be tipped because it's such a healthcare environment, and usually tips are not encouraged in healthcare environments. So when I worked at that chiropractic clinic, I did not receive tips. I received an hourly wage. Hourly wage at that time was $14 an hour. When I worked there, I also got certified to be a chiropractic assistant. So an RCA is what we call it. And so in addition to doing massage therapy services, I was also doing chiropractic assistant services. So that was a really great job because I learned a lot more about medical billing and things like that. I was getting paid about $14 an hour, no tips, but I was also there longer. So I was doing longer shifts because it's not like the spa environment where you're doing an hour-long session and you barely have breaks. At the chiropractic office, it's more like you work with clients for about 15, no more than 20, 30 minutes doing manual therapy. It's what it's literally called, is manual therapy. And there's a lot more administrative stuff involved. And I was doing chiropractic assistant stuff. So I would be there maybe 8 hours. So that gives you an idea of what I was being paid. Now, I've known massage therapists who work in chiropractic clinics who are paid about like $25 to $40 an hour. It really just varies. But again, typically there's no tips. So another job that I had as a massage therapist is working for a small business. Now, this small business was a spa. It was a full service spa, and I was actually a 1099 contractor. So I was technically a business owner, not quite, but I was responsible for doing my own taxes. To give you an idea of what I was making working for a small business was around, if it was like really, really busy, sometimes $900 a week, sometimes $300 a week. It just really depended on how many clients I had. It was very flexible, so I really made my own schedule. Technically working for myself, but working for this small business. So I really had to work to build my clientele at that time. Also, I was getting tipped. So I did get tipped at this spa, and I got commission. So I got I want to say a 50% commission split, which is very, very high. And if I brought my own clients into this spa, I would get an 80% commission split plus any tips. Before I get into how money changed when I became a spa owner, definitely comment down below, add to the conversation if you feel comfortable, share how much you started at, because this can really start a conversation about compensation as massage therapist. So definitely let me know down below, what did you start at when you were a massage therapist? So this next part of the video is a little bit more complicated because when you are a business owner, how you pay yourself is just a lot different. If you want to see a video, like a more in-depth video on this subject, definitely let me know. Eventually, y'all know the story. I had to stop working at that spa because of the pandemic. So I started working for myself again after a failed attempt, 2 years prior to this. Eventually, when I got myself off the ground with my business, I was able to price our services anywhere between $115 an hour to $145 an hour. So that gives you an idea of what our pay rate was. I didn't really start hiring people until month 2. So keep that in mind that really early in my business, I was responsible for contractors, but also early in my business, the first year of my business, we really didn't have many expenses and the startup was not that bad at all. I started my business with about $500. That made it simple. And I also started doing mobile services, so overhead was very, very low. But this video is about paying yourself. So how much was I paying myself? How much am I paying myself as a business owner? So I'm mostly going to be referring to that first year of business. So my first year of business, I did about $85,000 that year and made 6 figures shortly after that, a few months after that. So that gives you an idea. We had a little bit more than a 40% profit margin, which is amazing. Now, let me share a little bit more about my mindset or my thought process when it came to paying myself as a business owner. Because when you own a business, it's not as simple as just getting a paycheck. I mean, you could do it that way. Usually, if you're a corporation, you're doing it that way. And we're an LLC at this point in time. When I first started the business, my lifestyle was a lot different. I was a lot more frugal. I didn't have any children. I didn't have a spouse. So that can tell you a little bit more about, my lifestyle at that time. My strategy was to be as bare bones as possible when it came to paying myself so that I can reinvest more into the business and reinvest more into my team. So because my bills were minimal, I started paying myself around $1,750 in the beginning. That was enough to cover like a lot of my, personal expenses and, different things that I wanted. Eventually, my salary grew to $2,500 a month, especially as my lifestyle changed and I wanted to save for different things. As I wanted to buy larger purchases, such as my house, I bought my house when I was 25 years old. I started paying myself $4,500 a month. That grew to $5,000 a month. So that can give you an idea of what I was paying myself. Now, just because I was paying myself that much doesn't mean I couldn't have paid myself more. It's just what I chose to do based on my goals for the business. How much I paid myself would just depend on what's going on. Am I saving for something? Am I about to make a large purchase? Is there something in particular I want? So it would just, vary. And I do want to note that all these numbers that I'm telling you is before I started coaching, before I started consulting other spa owners, really before the education side of my business. Nowadays, now that I'm a more mature business owner, how I do it is I take a percentage of all of our sales and that goes into, you can imagine like a pot. It goes into a pot and that is really a reserve for my potential salary. So that is how I do it now. And so now I can give myself a set salary while still, setting aside money for profit, for, operating expenses, for my salary, for my contractors, for taxes, all that stuff. So in addition to the salary that I made my first year, or how much I made my first year, I was also able to take some money from my profit. So now that I'm a more mature business owner and I've learned from other business owners, I've learned to take a quarterly profit distribution into, my personal life. That is just a little bit more insight to how I think about paying myself as a business owner. Hopefully that gave you some ideas of how you can pay yourself as a spa owner. If you want to see a more in-depth video about this subject, definitely let me know. But if you want to learn more about the money side of owning your spa business, you'll definitely want to check out this video. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.